Welcome back to the Throttle Stop Moto Podcast, brought to you by Pandora's European Motorsports. I am Justin.
And I'm Jeff. And today we brought with us Rachel. This is Rachel. If you want to introduce yourself, I guess you are doing Alabama Adventure Riders. You lead a bunch of rides. You do a lot of camping. Kind of want to bring it in here, just have a customer profile here. How many bikes have you bought here? Between you and Chris. Chris is her husband. Three, soon to be 4?
Yeah, soon to be 4.
Because he wants that F900 GS.
Yep, probably soon to be 5.
Yep, bring it up.
All right.
As we get into any of these stories, it's always interesting to hear how people got introduced to motorcycling. And you were telling me a cool story right before we started here. And it was involving an old Sachs moped.
Yes. So, gosh, I was super young. My dad has always been on bikes, and he purchased this moped, and it was I don't even know how you say it, Sachs.
Sachs,
I guess
yep.
it's Sachs.
So is this what you sent me a
50cc.
picture of?
That's what I sent you a picture of there.
So we'll bring that up.
Yeah. And it was like a bicycle, and you pedaled it and then kind of dumped the clutch, but there was a button on there that you could hit and it would fire up the engine. And then, like I said, I was way too young to be on this bike.
So you pedal the bike, and I guess that's what's cranking the engine.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people come in here and they say, you got any mopeds? And a moped hasn't been around at least since the 80s.
Moped.
They
I'd
say
say
moped. I hear
okay.
moped a
I
lot.
think it's moped.
But no, they come in looking for a scooter. They're asking
Yeah.
for a scooter, but they haven't made it, like no one's made an official moped with pedals since the
Yeah.
80s. So yeah, that's interesting going back where, the origins of motorcycling. Motorcycles came from a world where you just added an engine to a bicycle, and that just got more and more sophisticated as it went on.
Yep.
So you got one of those early ones with a Sachs.
I did.
So you kind of started on basically I started on a Honda Passport.
Yeah. So
50cc moped.
Yep.
So tell me about your first wreck. Because I know it happened.
it did, but I wasn't on the bike. The first wreck on the bike was because me and my brothers were pushing it to try to get it to start. And we were one was on one side, I was on the other side, and the throttle was all the way back. So when the button got hit, the bike was ready to go. It just went straight through the field, kind of turned, went down a ditch, went across the road into another ditch where we lived, and kind of flipped. And my dad was out in the garage, probably fixing something or building something. And he just walked outside and was like, what in the world just happened? And we were like, of course, already running for the hills. But didn't damage it at all. I mean, the things
Really?
about it is, oh yeah. I mean, that
Ghost
made
riding.
out of metal and no fiberglass on those things.
Ghost riding before it was cool.
Yes.
So your dad had this thing. He had been motorcycling for a while though,
long time.
and he's Mr. Safety Freak too.
No, he's not.
Always encouraging wearing helmets and elbow pads.
No.
I bring that up because we joke about her and tease her about being the safety officer. So we talked about her leading some rides with the Alabama Adventure Riders group, and she's the safety officer.
I am. I'm the safety officer. Well, I got deemed the safety officer because it's obviously frowned upon not to want to wheelie or throw dirt and dust up on people in the ride, or, I really can't. I have to say I'm a hypocrite because I did ride in my Crocs at March Moto Madness from the campground to the event.
I saw that on video.
I know.
You didn't even have a helmet on.
I know.
Wow.
Nobody did.
Wow.
So it was a
Way to go, Road Karen.
No, I know. But it was also to just lend support to the fact that you should not be wearing Crocs. Because I tried to put that GSA up on the center stand and about took my foot off.
Oh, man.
It is not, they are not appropriate riding gear. No croc. I don't care if you put it in sport mode. It's just not appropriate riding gear.
Or shorts in general.
Exactly.
No, I
I
mean,
have a scar on the back of my leg just from putting a dirt bike up on the stand.
Yeah. I mean, it can happen real
Real
quick.
sharp peg. It just caught me. It just went right into the back of my leg. It was
And
at the car wash. Pulled it off the trailer, put it on the stand. Wasn't thinking anything about it. And, yeah.
but that's when most accidents occur,
Exactly.
when you're not
yeah.
thinking about what could happen, or you're tired, or you think, well, I'm just going to run right down here to the gas station to get something.
Most accidents happen within 2 miles of home. or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yep.
See, that is a statistic, but think about where you spend most of your time driving. I mean, if that's always your destination, you're going to spend more time there.
Yeah, but within 2 miles of home.
That's what I mean.
I don't do anything within 2 miles of home. I live in the middle of nowhere.
Well, I mean,
As a kid, 100% of my accidents happen within 2 miles.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Especially on two
Yes.
wheels.
Yes.
But we were talking before, you kind of became the safety officer, sort of a PTSD from watching your father, who isn't safety oriented whatsoever.
No, he is a I want to say a risk taker, but he just has very little fear.
Yeah.
And he grew up very adventurous. Some of our camping trips, we would just like sleep under the church bus,
Yep.
no official tent or, anything
Not
like
even
that.
in the
Just-
church bus.
No.
oh,
I
man.
mean, he and he still to this day goes on these epic adventures. And I don't know if you saw the picture of his V-Star with the pop-up camper.
No,
So he was pulling the pop-up camper. He had a belly boat.
on a V-Star, I hope is at 1100 at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a bigger V-Star. But, I mean, he had fly fishing poles, the pop-up camper, the belly boat. I think it like a little pontoon that you take out there. Yeah. Big
Did you
adventures.
take a dog with him?
Nope.
Okay, because I ran into a guy. I don't remember where it was. We passed a guy somewhere in the middle of nowhere, like out in like Texas or Oklahoma or something. And he had a trailer and a sidecar and had a dog with him. And he had a kayak on top of the trailer. And like,
Yeah. It
you
seems
could tell
normal.
He like just lived off that.
Yeah.
thing. Like he had everything. It's like the
Yeah.
smallest motorhome I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
And he
But-
does have a gold wing with a sidecar too. So he's got
That's
that.
life goals there.
Yeah.
after retirement is have a sidecar.
Yeah. Who fits in those?
Your dog.
I have
That's what
said
it's
in this
for.
one over here, it is not easy.
No.
I don't want to ride there for any length of time at all. But yes, for dog, awesome.
Yes, for a dog. Yeah.
For
Absolutely.
your gear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gear. I mean, but that looks like those. You remember the movie Cool Running, where they had to
We actually watched that a few weeks ago.
Really?
I had to introduce the kids to it because it was my favorite movie.
I don't know this.
when they
You don't
have
know
to
Cool
get in that
Runnings? No.
thing. That's what that looks like to
Yeah.
me. Like you're having to.
Bobsled. The Jamaican bobsled.
Jamaican-
Oh, okay. I should know this.
Yeah.
Feel the rhythm. Feel the run. Get on up. It's bobsled time. Come on, dude. Cool runnings.
Oh man, no, my brother-in-law is Jamaican. I should know this. Like that's a big deal for
Well,
them.
you need to go watch it.
Like,
That's how we learned where
Yeah.
Jamaica was as children.
Yeah. You need to go. You need to go watch it.
but yeah, I mean, it sounds like you had a similar experience to me as far as the childhood safety aspect.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, you can look at previous episodes where my dad was on here. I remember like being a kid and he's like wheeling this XR100 like straight at my face. And the biggest thing is don't move. If you move, he will hit you.
Yeah. See that? No. It's if I even think. Oh, let me tell you.
She's going into Karen mode.
If I even, I'm talking about myself. If I even think at a red light that I might accidentally wheelie on the BMW, I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I'm so like super careful when I'm letting out because I'm just thinking, man, wonder what would happen if I accidentally let this clutch out and throttled too much. Would I? Am I? Of course,
The first tire will come up a little bit.
Now I have to give you a pass though, because she works in the medical field.
Yes,
You see injuries
I
and
do.
know the consequences of these injuries.
I do.
And to be fair, you are seeing the worst possible outcomes.
Yeah,
But as you're seeing all this, it makes you more aware. It makes you more
Yeah.
cautious. Wheeling is something that obviously we don't want to encourage for riders on the street. But it is a necessary skill whenever you get off-road.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've run into situations riding off-road where it is a necessity.
No.
No.
Like I said, now if there's some epic bear fight on the side of the road and one of them throws the bear in the road and you got to jump it to get over it, maybe.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the difference between a wheelie and a wheel lift.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So like a wheel lift, I could see that you've got maybe a rock or a log.
So it's not a wheelie until it's at 12 o'clock and you're balancing?
Well, I think the characteristics of
at
a
least,
wheelie
like-
would be a ride. Like you gotta ride it out.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe if you're riding it out for a long period of time
We
and
have to strictly define these. Yeah.
hooting and hollering and being like, woo, I'm riding a wheelie. That's a wheelie. But if we're like, oh my God, there's a rock, that's a
wheel hop.
bunny
wheel
hop,
Little hop.
a wheel
hop.
lift.
Oh.
Yeah.
A double blip.
Yeah, I tell people that I ride with, because people, especially people that don't ride a lot, they always do a wheelie. Can you do a wheelie? Everybody cares about wheelies. And I always say, if you see me doing an actual wheelie, get out of the way. Because I'm about to wreck.
Exactly. It is purely by
It was
accident.
completely accidental.
Yes.
I'm not going to be popping a wheelie on purpose.
No.
Especially not on a street bike or an ADV bike, like a full size. Not like on a motocross bike or something like that. Like I'll pop a wheelie.
So you know how to pop a wheelie.
I know how, but I'm not going to do it on a 700-pound bike.
Yeah.
No.
On purpose.
I'm not even. I don't know
Oh,
how to.
thank you.
I don't know how to pop a wheelie.
We'll get you trained.
And maybe the reason I'm such a safety officer about it or stickler about it is because I don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm somehow jealous that I can't wheelie.
Maybe
No,
not.
that's not it. That is not it at
I have
all.
a supermoto and I don't wheel it.
I have no desire for my head to be looking up this way when I'm
No.
supposed to be.
That's why you stand up.
Oh my
I
gracious.
want my headlight pointing to where oncoming traffic can see it.
Yes.
You've seen the videos where guys are riding a wheelie and somebody turns out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, you idiot! They couldn't see you coming because they're looking at the bottom of the bike. and it's
Exactly.
nighttime.
Well, yeah. And you definitely have a greater distance to stop if you
Yeah.
have to bring the front wheel down first.
Exactly.
Yeah. And even in group rides, you see these accidents that happen where these people are riding on interstates and they're on these bikes and they're all popping wheelies. And then, of course, they pop a wheelie and then land right on front of the person in front of them that had to stop.
Yeah.
It's just not a good, not a good
That's
skill.
why I don't like the group rides.
Yeah. Oh, uh-oh.
I think it's just about
Oh, man.
it's just about like using in the appropriate scenario,
Yes.
and we have to be able to do it off road just to be able to
Yeah.
get over obstacles and things like that. I do have a friend of mine who decided he's going to wheelie across the Market Street Bridge during Riverbend, and that had great consequences. But
What kind of bike was it on?
it was a CBR 600 that my dad told his father, "Don't buy your kid this bike. He's a new rider."
He sold me one when I was 19.
I don't know the situation of that case, but this is a kid, like I was playing baseball with him, and he's like, "Dude, don't buy your kid this bike." I've had the same kind of conversations with people like, "Hey, you're going too much too fast," and it's not that this kid was really good at baseball. He knew how to pick up sports very well, and his dad thought he'd pick this up as well, and he did. He learned how to wheelie. He learned how to control the bike, but it also has to come with discipline, and that discipline comes from falling down a few times. You will be disciplined by the bike if you don't have it yourself, and so it's important to have some experience and grow into things like that,
Yeah.
not just be a stunt guy out on the middle of the street. And those are the guys who make it dangerous for all of the rest of us on the road, and make it so that cars. We were talking about this in our last podcast episode, where it's about like we have to share the road just like we have to share
Yeah.
the trails.
Yep.
And as soon as you have this guy on a GSX-R 1000 wheeling past a crowd of cars, every single one of those cars now is mad at motorcycles.
Yeah.
And like we talk
Forever.
about
Yes.
forever.
Yeah.
And like you see like lane splitting and
Yeah.
stuff in California, lane filtering,
Yep.
all of that stuff produces a safer environment for the motorcyclist, in the case of lane filtering especially, because you're faster traffic up front, slower traffic in the rear.
Filtering, not splitting.
Yeah. But honestly, right now, if it was legalized, it would take a lot of education because
People would be hitting you.
people would be mad that you're passing them on a motorcycle. Why don't you have to wait in line like the rest of us?
Well, it's the same way on the interstate. A lot of the motorcycles that overheat, because
Yes.
they're not, I guess,
they're air
liquid
cooled,
cooled. Yeah. And you'll see motorcycles on the shoulder trying to get, and you'll see cars like trying to, pull into that.
In the
And I'm
middle of
thinking,
July, too.
yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
"Do
I'm
you
like,
see me? I'm dying here.
yes. And my
Congratulations,
bike
you
is
have-
not going to start,
you have air
once we,
conditioning. And so not only is it 100 degrees outside, now my bike is 230
Yep.
degrees between my legs.
Yep.
It's like, will you please just like I'm not trying to get ahead of you. I'm just trying to get out of this so I
Exactly.
can go get something to drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm about to
Going to
die.
the next exit, wherever it is.
Exactly.
Wait this out. So, yeah, I mean, I
think there's
agree.
something
We're,
Yeah, I've had situations where like somebody will pull right out in front of you, and you pull up next to them at the next light, and it's like, "Hey, did you not see me?" Like,
Yeah.
not even like raging.
education. Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, if y'all didn't ride like idiots," and I'm like,
Who's y'all?
"What
Just,
do you mean, y'all?"
I'm just riding down the road.
I got passed by a car doing 90. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, I mean, and the bigger the bike, you think, okay, well, I'm more visible now, the
Yeah.
bigger I am, but not necessarily. I mean, I watched a demonstration with somebody that just held up a pin, and behind the pin was a motorcycle, and you could
Oh,
not
yeah.
see it until they kind of put that. And I thought, well, that's what people see, because half the time especially if they're, looking to go right or they're looking to go left, they'll look one time in each direction. And if your profile is this
Or if you're in
skinny,
the wrong
then
position in the bike
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And a lot of people are just not. I would think sometimes with a larger bike, it's easier to confuse it with a car.
Yep.
So when you see it, you think it's a lot further away.
So you talk about lane position. What's the correct lane position for a motorcycle?
It depends on the situation.
Okay, so generically riding, if you're behind a car, they tell you, like in your DOT owner's manuals and things like not DOT manuals and things like that, they tell you to be to the left portion of the lane.
Mhm.
And that's so that oncoming traffic can see you.
Yeah.
I agree. There's some situations where you might change that. And we talked a little bit before. We might want to talk about some like group riding safety tips on that, because that's a different situation, right?
Yes, it's
It-
very different.
90% of the time, you do want to be against the line because the car in front of you is blocking you.
Mhm.
And so if you're on the right side and someone is waiting to turn left, when that
Mhm.
car passes, if they can't see you, they're going to turn right in front of you.
Yep.
Or if you're on the left side, they'll be able to see you.
And my dad learned that lesson the hard way. He got hit by a
Now,
car.
a lot of people get to learn that the hard way. But on the other end of that, if there's somebody at a stop sign up ahead on the right side and you're on the left side,
Mhm.
they can't see you. So you've got to be vigilant and be
Yeah.
looking, because if that person is sitting waiting to turn left or right, either way,
Yeah.
you want to move over to where they can see you as
Yeah.
well and then move back. And so for me, I'm constantly changing lane
Yeah.
positions dependent on what the
And
situation
I will
is.
I'll go like from looking at someone who's pulling out in the eye to looking at their wheels
Yep. Oh,
to
yeah.
make sure they're whether they're moving or not.
Yep.
And stay back. Stop tailgating people.
See, that's what I was about to
People can
say.
see you disappear when
You're-
you're up on the back.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Well, and you don't realize this is something I had to make myself aware of, because when I was going to school in high school, I had a guy in front of me. I didn't think I was tailgating, but then I get done and I go inside, and the kid that was riding in the car said, "My dad says to get off his butt." And I'm like, I didn't realize I was tailgating anybody, because we can see our front fender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
don't realize how it looks to someone in front of them. We don't mean to tailgate. Honestly, it's just we're more aware of where the front of our bike
bikes
is.
do that to me all the time in traffic.
Yeah.
Because in my Suburban, I've got it's not a rear view mirror, it's the rear view camera.
Camera. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you can just see right
Yeah.
there. And I've seen guys come out and they're like 4 inches off of my hitch.
Mhm.
It's like, dude, nobody can see you back
Nope.
there. Like, what are you? And if somebody comes screeching up behind you, you've got nowhere to go.
But that's something where, again, we make people mad inadvertently. We don't mean to be on your bumper. We don't mean to be tailgating. We're just super aware of where we are. I could get within an inch of your bumper and I'm not even close to hitting you.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be.
I shouldn't be.
'Cause if you're gonna
Absolutely.
get rear-ended, you got nowhere to go.
Right.
except for trying to
Exactly.
Jump on top of my truck.
And yeah, that's
I think that's more a mistake. It's these guys who are doing 120 on the freeway that, you know, it's scary when one of those passes by you. And the funny thing is, if you're on a motorcycle and you had been riding at any speed whatsoever, that guy suddenly has a big head and wants to like prove he's faster than you.
Yep.
And so he goes blowing by you.
Those situations, I've addressed that in a lot of my YouTube videos, and people get so butthurt about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I'm not going to let, real men ride and real men do this, and we ride as fast as we want, and we're not going to hurt anybody because we're on a motorcycle. That is the one thing that irks me more than anything, is the fact that a guy on a motorcycle thinks that he's not going to hurt anybody because he's on a motorcycle and someone else is in a car.
Yeah, you're not in
It's
a
like,
close course
well, how
competition.
often are you going to kill somebody by hitting them with a motorcycle if they're in a car? And I'm like, hold up. Okay, first off, you can very easily kill someone. But aside from that fact, why should someone have to deal with the trauma of you dying,
Yep.
running into their car? Or if you don't, the fact that now you've totaled their car,
Yep.
you've traumatized their children,
Yep.
you've completely turned their life upside down for the next 2 or 3 months, having
Yeah.
to deal with insurance and rental cars and all.
Mhm.
Like, and the fact that you just inconvenienced someone else and most likely injured them. Just because they didn't die doesn't mean that. And
Yeah.
like, they were doing nothing but driving to work.
Yeah.
Or trying to get their kid to soccer practice.
Yep.
And you rear-ended them doing 160 miles an hour because, let's face it, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
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 And if we could eliminate that portion of the motorcycle accidents that happen out there, I think that's a pretty good portion of them.
Yeah.
You ever hear about like people really getting hurt and things like that? I mean, in my life, the ones I've seen, I generally know the rider. The ones who have been severely hurt are people I know who are hot dogging it out there. Like they're really out there.
If it's the car's fault.
Yeah.
If you would have been riding within the limits of the situation.
Yep.
You could have either avoided it or
Yeah.
the injuries could have been a lot less.
Yep.
And so that has a lot to do with it.
But I don't want to dwell on that too much. We're going to talk about riding in a group and like what's your general rules whenever you take a group out for the Alabama Adventure Riders? What does your riders meeting look like?
So it depends on who's leading the safety briefing.
Okay.
We have several members who don't like the safety briefing. They usually show up afterwards.
Oh.
And they know who they are.
To show up late. I'm just not a morning person.
No. They're we do have a few that are. I hope that's okay.
Why don't
You're
you just
good.
clip that on your zipper? Or like the actual, like,
Oh yeah.
then it won't be moving.
Okay. So
There we go.
we have a few that like to miss the safety briefings, but primarily we want to, of course, in a road riding situation, if the road is not narrow, it's staggered formation,
Yep.
give somebody a little bit of space. We usually have of course, lead rider and sweep rider. If for some reason, we haven't had this issue, we didn't have it until the Pandora ride.
Until I was the sweeper.
Until Justin was the sweeper.
It's your
The
fault.
fill-in sleeper.
The fill-in. So Matt, I guess, designated you the
Matt had to
new.
leave to get
Yep.
back because we got delayed because someone had an accident.
Yes.
We've all probably seen that video. Matt with the hatchet.
And they were fully geared up and
Completely fine.
yeah,
Yes.
they didn't have
Oh.
any.
Rode the bike back to Chattanooga.
That
They
thing
were
was-
really the only ones who rode the ride correctly after they wrecked. They actually made it to Old Furnace Road, rode it, and then met up at the gas station, the original gas station. The plans did change because I got a call from Chris, the service that to meet him at the Shell, and we were supposed to meet at the Cherahalla. But anyway, so most of the rides are typical lead rider, sweep rider. If we get separated, the group will pull over in a safe location, whether it's a gas station or whatever, until the others can, meet back up. But we have never had that problem on any other group ride. If we're riding off road, Typically, it's the same scenario, but single ride right, single formation, give people space. You know, if and we also remind people to check their side mirrors. If the person behind you, if you can't see them, in a reasonable amount of time, like if we go around curves or if we're
Yeah.
climbing, if you don't see that person, then of course, honking the horn to let the person in front of you know that you're slowing down, may have to turn around and go back.
Don't just
but
go on and leave the person
No.
behind you. And that's one thing that I've run into in a lot of our group rides is that
Mhm.
you really have to train that person to be responsible for the person behind them.
Yep.
And then whoever's running sweep, if something happens in front of you, they have to be ready to react to that. And that's one reason why, if you ever like read any material on this stuff, they'll tell you to have one of your most experienced riders be
Mhm.
the sweep.
Yep.
Because if someone's crashing in front of you, you have to be able to dodge that person.
And that's typically what we do. We'll put very experienced rider in the back, experienced rider in the front. And even though I know when I first started riding, I always wanted to be near the back because I thought, I know I'm going to be slower. I'm, of course, not that, and I'm not speaking in general terms, I'm speaking for myself. As a woman, I'm not going to ride as fast as most men on the road or off road. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I'm right there with you.
because I want to ride tomorrow.
Yes.
So, but the bad thing about that is we are like, oh man, let me be in the back because I'm
Yeah.
slower. But technically, we should I like to stick people more in the middle because I find that they actually keep up better and the ride stays together more if you stagger people throughout the ride, not
Right.
just putting all the slow people in the back, because
Yeah, 'cause then
then
you get really stressed.
yes, and even though I may be as fast as everybody in the ride, like if we come up to an intersection, I'm going to stop, look, pull out. Well, these people have already got their speed up. So now
Yeah.
I'm really far behind. So as a slower rider, it's going to take me longer to catch up versus somebody who may be a little bit
Yeah.
faster. So it does tend to keep the group together better when it's done that way.
Yeah.
And there's always those guys that want to go faster than everybody else.
Yep.
Just make sure they know where everybody's meeting and just let them go.
That's right. Go on ahead. Get on out of here.
Go ahead and make a loop and come on
That's
back around and
right.
catch us if you
How
want
about
to.
this? Wheelie all the way around everybody, and then we'll meet you on the back because that's usually the way it is. Oh man. But when we were at March Moto Madness, we took a group down to called the Alien Launch Pad or
Yeah.
whatever. And of course I was on the 300 because didn't take Loki down in there, but
Yeah.
everybody else was on a little bit bigger bikes, and so
Loki is her bike.
oh,
Her R1300 GS Adventure.
yes, he's pretty, and so since I wasn't familiar with the ride, and actually that was the first time Chris had ever been down there. And nobody else had been down there, so I was like, you know what if we get into something stupid, and I've got this big Bavarian cow with these big old
There's a video on our YouTube channel called Finding McFarlane if you want to see what we're talking about, the alien launch pad. And if you're not from the area,
it's awesome.
it's wild, but it's an old town.
It is.
And there's a graveyard up there, and they had their own post office at some point, and that was
Railroad
during
track came through there.
that was during all of the building of the power station down there, wasn't it?
Yep. It was like a concrete mixing plant, and
Yeah.
so it's really interesting. And so we went down in there, and of course I was on the 300, and everybody else was on. I think the next smaller bike was a 650, and then of course Chris on his 1250, and a bunch of KTMs, and then of course we had a few riders that are very wheelie oriented. I had to get onto them. Thank goodness they weren't connected via comms, but I think half the time people just mute me and I'm yelling at everybody. But we went down in there, and then of course the second we hit 68, I could hear Chris in the comms, okay, Rachel, we're about to go. And I'm like, that's okay. And of course I'm squealing in the back and trying to keep up. And everybody else is just gone. And but it didn't bother me a bit. I knew exactly where we were going. And I just tell them, if y'all make a crazy turn off somewhere, just
somebody let me know.
Yeah. Yep.
We have a lot of these group rides, and on a couple of these group rides, we do one every month. We always have a rider who is fairly new,
Mm-hmm.
and I just want to make a point. Like, I don't mind having that person.
No.
Like, I want that person
Yep.
to participate as much as they humanly can, because this is the only way you get better.
That's right.
Is to just put time in the seat. What I've noticed is they do have a tendency to apologize a lot, and make sure because we are waiting on you. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yep.
But I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable coming on and joining in our group rides. We will let you know if this is an expert ride, and we have had those. Couple of mistakes I see them make is, of course, stop signs uphill,
Yeah.
letting the clutch out, stalling the bike. Had a tip over on one of those, and not leaning the bike. That's something as you are learning to ride, you don't steer the bike by turning the bars. You steer the bike by leaning the bike over.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get to the point where you're comfortable leaning the bike over, then you're not going to make corners at speed that other people can.
I have to touch on something.
Yeah.
So we talk about new people on group rides.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I've tried to do in the group is bring more women to the sport.
Again, we talked about that last episode.
And we had a Women in the Woods ride last year in the fall. And we had a brand new rider, and her partner and her son. He asked if he could ride with her because this would have been her first time riding off road. And he had bought all three of them little Honda Trail 125s. And I, of course, asked the women in the group, I was like, is that okay? Because it was supposed to be a women only ride. But if she was going to ride with us, he felt more comfortable riding with her, and she probably felt more comfortable with him being there.
Yeah.
And she rode it. And let me tell you, we had the best time
Mm-hmm.
getting all three of them. I mean, she did really good. She is still riding, but that if she were to try to go on a group ride where she had never ridden off road, and was kind of stuck in the middle, being anxious, trying to keep up, she probably would just stop riding. Wouldn't even want to. So there has to be those kind of rides for people. If not, then we're leaving out a big population of not just women, but new riders, or people who don't have anybody that can take them out and show them how to ride. And
well, yeah, and you never want to stick a new rider out there in the woods alone.
No.
Not necessarily like fully alone, but you don't want two new riders out there in the woods alone. Like,
no, exactly.
It's important to have somebody who's experienced coaching these people as they get used to just being on the gravel, being on the dirt. I love training courses. We've talked about it. You did the one for BMW, didn't you?
I did.
You learn anything?
Oh, a lot. And I contemplated doing it again next month, because once you've done it one time, now you can kind of be a little bit more relaxed. Like, okay, now I can really, go for all the things that I was reserved, the first time. I did everything, even though everything's challenged by choice. I thought, well, I'm here. I might as well go for it. And I would take it every year if I could. I mean, I just think it's that valuable, and I learned a lot.
We had talked about this topic last episode with Terry Lynn. Terry Lynn, we'll see, that actually is publishing as we're recording right now. But she's starting this Cherry Log Adventures, and her point is to get more people into riding, and like support the local businesses along the way, and like just make it accessible to people, because she's right along the BDRX, which is awesome. But another focus she has, because she is a female rider, is getting more women into it. And I think I need to connect you guys. I don't know if you know her.
Shreds ride.
Yeah.
10th. Yep. Because I'll be up in Maryville for the She Rides Moto event.
Okay.
And so I've thought about just I've already got it on my calendar.
Yeah.
Popping on over to Mulberry and
Yep.
because we Cahutta will. I'm telling you, that was when I did the Smoky Mountain 500. Cahutta is a sleeper out there. I mean,
You get some
it can
technical stuff.
be. Yep.
Well, you talk about doing going to the Alien launch pad. You probably didn't hit Trail 81 and 82.
No, I did not.
Like those
are
are
on
technical. Those are difficult.
Yes, they are. And we had a friend of ours. Well, two that were in the group with us. They rode it with some other friends of ours, and it was just more than I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
While we were there. Plus, there's so much great. I can't not ride the Chirahala and
Oh yeah.
all the way down to the NOC, and there's just too many great roads. You need weeks to.
And we did a ride
Oh.
that Saturday to March Moto Madness. We didn't stick around very long. We
I
kind of turned around
know.
and came back. But that was the point. That's what we had planned on doing. But you stayed and camped. So you got to try out the new Nemo.
I did. It was
Um,
excellent.
she was bragging about it. She got the 4-person tent, and she was bragging about how you could stand up in it, do other things in
Oh,
it.
we're both tall, and I mean, it makes a huge difference when you have a place where you can change, where you can stand up and change.
How small does it pack down?
I think it's
If I wasn't tethered, I'd go get it.
okay.
We'll remember that next time.
This is the way women measure for everything, in the house, when you're. So it looks about like it's about like this,
Yeah.
and then about that wide, and so we can pack it on the bike. Of course, the bike you have makes a huge difference
yeah.
in what you can carry. So we have these big bikes, and so it's easy, especially when both of us are traveling together,
Yeah,
because we can kind of share, packing up the camping stuff.
see, for me, I'm 2 up. And so
Well,
having something that'll fit in the pannier.
oh yeah, no, it
is
ain't
what
going to
we've
fit in the
got.
pannier,
Yeah.
but
The 2-person tent will.
yeah,
Well, I've got the 2-person tent with the foyer.
The foyer.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
where you can, okay, I know what you're talking
So
about.
it's like you've got the tent, and then the cover for the whole thing is twice the size
Yeah,
of the tent.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then so you've got your
like a little canopy.
like a canopy, but it's got its own door and everything. So you
Okay.
can keep all your gear out there.
Yeah,
And then we've got the double mattress with the double sleeping bag.
Yep.
And it takes up the whole footprint of the tent. But you can change your clothes and everything
Yeah.
over in the foyer. I like
do you know what made the difference for us? Cots.
cots. That's not a bad idea.
That is
But I can't carry
exactly
cots. I'm completely out of it.
okay. Well, we are on cots now
Yeah.
because we have tried everything. We have done hammock camping, we have done tent camping, sleeping on the ground. I've ended up in the car
Have you done a little pad?
sleeping. Do what?
Have you done the sleep pad underneath the sleeping bag?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I've tried it all, and first night away, we can never sleep. I mean, I don't sleep well the first night away from home anyway. But the cots on this camping trip, we slept
Yeah.
excellent.
So we have the big Agnes. It's the double inflatable pad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the sleeping bag goes over that. So
Yep.
your pad acts as your
The base, bottom.
insulation and the base.
Right.
So it basically just has a sheet
Yeah.
that wraps around it, and then you've got a sleeping bag that's basically all the way open.
Yeah.
And so it packs up the size of like one sleeping bag instead of having
nice.
to take 2.
Yeah.
And you've got one mattress pad that's a little bit bigger than a single,
Yeah.
but it's smaller than 2 singles. And so it works out really well. And it's and a little air mattress, and they're expensive, but it's definitely worth
Oh,
it.
it's worth it
to
if
be
you're
able to
gonna.
sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I have that and my battery powered fan, I'm good.
So you guys have 2 bikes that you're doing. You have the 1250 GSA and the new 1300 GSA. What are you gonna do when he goes for an F900? I mean, I guess you still get bags and stuff like that on it.
Yeah. But so we're thinking about condensing both dual sports into the 900
Okay.
because he rides the 1250 on pretty much everything
Mm-hmm.
except
So this is going to
for
be in addition to the 1250.
yes.
So you're going to have, okay, I see.
Yeah. Why would you? why would you?
You don't want to
Get rid-
replace it altogether. I mean, for
No.
what you're doing, if you're actually going out and using the camping capability, that is
Yeah.
the bike. Like,
Yep.
I'm a KTM guy. If I'm on the KTM, I want to go out and handle some really gnarly off-road.
Yep.
I'm not doing it for moto camping.
No.
For moto camping, the G1300 GSA is the bike.
Yeah. And that's so we're just thinking about the 900 for him for like the gnarlier stuff that he may not want to take the 1250
Right.
on, like Buck's Pocket or like your 81, 82, those
Yeah.
type trails. But everything else he rides, all the BDRs and the Smoky Mountain 500 he's done on the 1250. So
Yeah,
and then he
definitely
said
capable.
you can ride the 900 on like the Smoky Mountain 500 versus because when you go from the 1300 to the 300,
Mhm.
it makes a huge difference. I do not.
Are you finding that you really like the adaptive ride height?
No.
No, not the thing. I wasn't sure. I mean, I know like height, you're tall, so
Yeah.
it's not as much of an issue, but like height is always an issue. We're talking about
Yeah.
getting women into it. It's
Mhm.
always an issue.
Yeah.
And you're the rare exception.
I know. I
But
don't fit in any one category, I don't think.
right.
We talk about the frustrations, especially women talk about the frustrations with finding gear.
Yep.
Because it's kind of it's either shrinked and pinked for the ladies, and that don't work.
Shrinked and pinked.
Because then it's really short for me. But it's really hard to find gear. But for me, it's different because women's gear is usually a little too short, especially in the torso. If
Yeah.
my women's jackets are too short, my men's jackets are too big across the shoulders and the
Yep.
arms. But I am not limited with my bike selection, which is nice. I can pretty much choose a bike that I want because I want it, not because I can touch the ground or.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed in that aspect. But I will tell you something that I was not prepared for on the 1300. My 1250, loved it. I would just get on it, take it off the side stand and go.
Yeah.
Whether the lean angle on the 1300 is that way because of the adaptive ride height,
Yeah.
it leans it so much
Yeah.
that my first time on the bike, Chris was ready to go. He was in the driveway, and I go to get on it, and I'm thinking I'm just going to pull it up like I did mine, and it was like I was in concrete. I was like, and that's about as far as I could get it, and I thought, oh my gosh.
Well, there's a lot
I've
of
already
things
bought
like
this bike.
that. Yeah.
And I can't get it off the side
You
stand.
need a taller kickstand.
So what I had to do is there's a company in Portugal that is making the lean angle reducer foot plate
The foot plate.
extender.
Yep.
And
You have to be
so
careful with those.
let me tell you,
I've got a story.
I they've been sold out forever because obviously this is not just unique to me.
Yeah.
This is a problem across the board. And when it came back in stock, I went ahead and ordered it. And of course it arrived after March Moto Madness, but it makes all the difference just lifting it up about, an inch.
Well, you know
inch and a half.
why we have such short kickstands, right? There's like a 50 state thing where that is actually regulated in California. And think about where you're parking them in California. Everything's hilly.
Oh.
So you've got to have a short enough kickstand so that you can get on there. Yeah, I always call that a showroom feature because it's typically a feature you notice in the showroom before anything else.
Yeah.
And if you're ever having trouble getting something off the kickstand, turn the bars first and kind of use that momentum to kind of help you up. But yeah, and it takes some upper body strength to get it done.
Oh, you got to use every body part to get that thing. And especially if the gas tank is full.
Yeah.
I don't fill it up. But for that reason. And plus because Chris is having to stop to fill his bike up, there's no reason for me to
Well, if that's the biggest crap, we're doing pretty good.
So I bought one of the base plates when I had my Tiger Rally.
Mhm.
And before I took off on my first cross-country trip on it, I knew that I was going to be doing a little bit of off-roading, and those Tigers have just that skinny
Oh, I know. That's what I had.
kickstand foot.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to end up sinking in the mud.
Mhm.
The
Oh,
bike's
sure.
going to fall over.
Yeah.
So I bought the base plate. Okay. Well, The Tiger does not have that issue where it leans over too much from the factory. So you put the base plate on it, and now it doesn't completely unload when you put it on the kickstand. So I am in Colorado, and Colorado, for those from Colorado,
is that a thing?
My fiance's family's from there. They get on time all the time. So.
Okay.
So I'm in Colorado, and I pull up to a gas station, and I wasn't paying that much attention because I was at elevation, and I was like, I need to just go get something to eat and chill for a little while. Well, I pull up to the pump, and then the pump's on my left side. Well, I wasn't thinking, and stood it up, went off. As I'm walking in, there's 4 older guys sitting outside that are all on Harleys, and they're just like, "Hey, how you doing?" And so I come out, and as I'm walking out, I see all 4 of these guys around my bike, and my bike is on the ground, and I'm like,
oh, what did you do?
What is what's happening?
Yeah,
right
yeah.
Like, they're running out there, and they're like, your bike just fell over. We're trying to pick it up, and I'm like, what? And so it was windy, but when I pulled up, the gas pump, the concrete was kind of sloped down away from it, and that was the side that my kickstand was on. So when I got off, it was just standing straight up. And we were in Colorado at elevation, so it was pretty windy. And the wind came by and just blew the bike right over. I was like,
so you were coming out wanting to fight, thinking the Harley guys had a problem with.
I was going to have to fight these 4 dudes by myself. Thought they were
Trumps are they're discriminated against. I got shamed pretty good because that was
they were super cool.
What? Who's hating on Triumph?
You know, I think it's just me.
In your group?
Yeah, I think it's
oh
just
my
me.
goodness.
Because they're British?
Well,
it's because you rode one?
It's because I rode one.
Why did you do that to the brand?
And listen, they all were on BMWs. So they used to call mine, you know, the Dollar General bike, and they were on the bike. Yeah. And so I got shamed pretty good, you know.
What do they say about my Ducati?
Oh.
Spaghetti.
That Italian-made Ducati.
I know I didn't fit in on
now that's stop it. Now look.
Everybody's like, oh, you're taking that Ducati in the dirt?
Oh.
Yes.
But it's the maintenance afterwards that's the problem.
Not on that bike. 36,000 miles.
Really?
To your first valve service is 36,000 miles.
That's nice.
10,000 miles.
Like talking about Ducati,
nice.
people like, if you're talking about your scrambler stuff like that, like, yeah, they're still using the old engines and stuff like that, 7,500 miles. But then when you get to, like, Ducati has fought that so much that they've had to become completely the opposite.
The opposite way.
And so you're looking at 9,000 mile oil change intervals, 36,000 mile valve services, like, talk about maintenance. Like, they are the least maintained motorcycle in our showroom.
So you mean that bullying works? Is that what you're telling me?
Bullying worked in this case. But
the majority of the comments that I get on that bike,
yeah,
because I never wash my bike, so they just stay dirty all the time.
Yeah, mine does too. Yeah.
So I don't wash it. Every time I pull up somewhere, people will come up and be like, "Oh yeah, you're actually using that rally for what it's for.
Yeah.
It's covered in mud and everything." And that's the most common comment.
But we loved that bike on the group ride because we want to always see different bikes. Right. I love to ride different bikes. That's one appeal of Barbara.
So if I show up on Triumph, am I going to be shamed?
No. No, because let me tell you something.
She got mad and nipped it in the bud. What happened?
I did. I am the Karen of the group.
For showing up.
Show up on a Bonneville, you might be like, hey, you're on the wrong equipment.
I want that Rocket 3. That is my lottery bike. Like, if I won the lottery, that would be my bike. I demo it every year at Barber's. And every time I'm on it, I'm thinking, man, if I just...
I know a place you can get one.
I know you do.
I want that bobber that we unboxed last time.
Oh, that TFC. That thing's beautiful.
Yeah.
That one blew up.
Harley and buy that thing so bad. If anybody wants to buy a street glove. So I can buy that Triumph.
But no, people do have a tendency to look at your bike, Ducati in general, and say, yeah, that's not a bike you want to take off-road. I think Yami Noob actually did a video where they're dissing on that bike, calling like, who's actually taking this off-road? First off, if you're listening to Yami Noob for any kind of advice, go elsewhere. Yes, calling you out. Anyway, it is an off-road capable bike. You've done off-road. You've done everything that, most people do on GSs with it. And whenever we started this podcast, we talked about how not off-road oriented you were.
On a bike that size. Yeah.
And it has changed as we've gone on with the ride you went on with them. And like, just getting experience under your belt's the biggest thing. Gravel is intimidating
Yes.
because if you get on the asphalt, you have a certain level of grip, and that just goes away when you're on gravel. I took a friend of mine, he had been riding for a few years, and I took him just dirt bike riding, just casual dirt bike riding. And I was like, man, how'd you like it? He goes, I hated it. And I'm like, why? He's like, I felt like I was going to hit a tree any moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, that's
so fun.
your first time. You're going to feel like that.
You got a story? I mean, yeah.
The most nervous I've ever been on a motorcycle is not like riding through Atlanta traffic. It's not like hitting a jump at the motocross track. Like the most nervous I've ever been is 2 up on a multistrada, fully loaded out on gravel, doing 10 miles an hour.
Oh, and see, we come from, so in between the motorcycles that we bought just for road, back in 2015,
Yep.
we got really heavily into mountain biking.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we would ride we loved the chunky, rocky,
Mhm.
that's what we loved to ride. So then Chris had the idea of, well, we could kind of combine motorcycling and mountain biking. And that is where the adventure riding came from. He started that process in October of 22, and in December of 22, he bought the Triple Black, the 1250.
Mm.
And I had no desire to ride.
You're like, have fun with that.
motorcycles. Exactly. But then, there wasn't a lot of people riding, and of course we do a lot together. So I ended up, he said, I've done some research and I found a couple of bikes that I think, because I was intimidated by his 1250. It looks big. I mean, it looks like a big bike.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to ride that. So he found a couple that he thought were like mid-level, and that's how I ended up with the 900, and rode it all the way to Arkansas and realized it was not big enough.
Yes.
It was very uncomfortable. And by December, I had the 1250 GSA.
Nice.
So,
And that was the one you traded in here. It's still here,
Still
isn't it?
pretty, yeah. When
Yeah.
I pull up, I'm like, oh, nobody's loving on you.
Hey, we're getting some better weather here. It'll
Drive
sell.
got sold like that, and that guy is here all the time. I've seen
Yeah.
him like 4 or 5 times here.
Was that Kevin? Because if so, he traded in for a multi.
No, he was here riding it a couple
Okay.
weeks ago. I forgot the guy's name. but-
We had, we got the multi 950 sold
Mhm.
recently. He went on our latest ride, but anyway,
Oh,
different
Kevin
guy.
Ward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Kevin.
Yep.
Yeah, y'all sold my Tiger.
Yep.
Because traded it, y'all didn't even look at it before you.
Yeah, we used to do a lot more of that. It used to be a lot less risky to trade in a bike
Mm-hmm.
because now we have to be really, really selective. We have a supply issue at the moment. The whole motorcycle industry does, where there's so many bikes that are new bikes on the market. Prices have come down on them, and I mean pricing's aggressive on new bikes, and there's promotional interest rates with
Yep.
new bikes.
Yeah.
It makes the used industry so much more difficult.
Yeah.
So whenever we give trade values for things, we're being more careful. We're being more cautious. It's not because we think your bike is
Yeah.
actually worth whatever number we put on it, but we have to keep the lights on. We have to make
Yeah.
profit at the end of the day, and it's a great risk for us to take bikes in right now
Yeah.
because we don't know what the market's going to do. It's a tumultuous time.
Yeah.
And financing. It's so much easier to finance a new one versus
It is, and just like you said, I mean, people who have really good credit are like, when they see promotional interest rates
Yeah.
on bikes, they're like, well, why in the world would I pay 7 and 8% when I can, get this one at 2.9 or,
Yep.
5.9? Exactly. So it is hard to, I imagine, sell a used bike.
Well, and a lot of guys, especially BMW customers, they just want to buy new.
Yeah.
Like it's just how it is. You can see it, even on the car side. On the car side, BMW cars, they have a pretty low resale value.
Yeah.
And luckily we haven't seen that so much on the motorcycle side, but it's because everybody's wanting to buy new.
Yeah.
Like that customer just wants a new car.
Of course, I think with the criticism about the different design of the 1300s, so many people were like, "Oh, it's so ugly. I'm going to stick with the you should be able to get rid of them 1250s because they're like, I'm not buying that transformer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well, if you look out there,
worth more.
exactly.
there's not a 1250 that I have in the used department that's been here more than 10 days.
Yeah.
This one is not for sale.
Yeah, that one's not for sale. That's Matt's.
No, but there is one out there that is.
Yep.
I wonder if that BMW rider school sticker intimidates people.
Scare them away. Oh yeah, I forgot about yours. But it's been ridden.
Yeah.
Uh,
But those are
look at that
usually
face.
broke in. That's when you want that BMW after that first big service. And
Yep.
you're like, because you'd be surprised how many used BMWs we see that are like 5 years old and only have like 1,500 miles on them. And
Oh,
I'm like,
They've just been
where do
sitting
these
there.
people? Why do they not ride these bikes?
Well, we see that all the
Shop's not that
time.
far away.
I
We can't ride from Starbucks to Starbucks.
don't like
Yeah.
Starbucks.
I don't either.
I don't like coffee.
Get out of here.
my
Oh
goodness.
boy, that's profanity.
Sorry.
But
I'm a
no,
monster guy.
being
No, energy drink.
being in this industry though, we see that all the time. We see people who like buy a bike and for whatever reason they just don't ride it that often.
Yeah.
It's really not the bike you want.
Well, no, and a lot of
You
times
don't
that's the
know how long it's
case.
been
Yeah,
sitting
exactly.
there.
That's the
Like,
first thing I
fluids have
ask.
not been ran through it right.
And
stuff's
like
dry
I have
out.
customers who like I will pay attention
Mhm.
and like if I see them coming in for a 600-mile service a year after they bought the bike, I'm like, why don't we get you into something that you'll ride? Like
Yeah.
obviously this is something that's not comfortable enough for you to get on and just
I've
go.
seen a lot of people buy the bike that they think that they want, and then they ride it, and it scares them, and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you'll see it for sale a year later.
Another reason why I always tell people like don't buy the brand new shiny sport bike. Like I don't want a newer rider to go for an S1000RR. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
Like I want you to get something that's going to be a step up.
Kind of
Yeah, I
grow
wanna
into
sell
it.
you
Yeah.
that bike 2 years from now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I'm ready.
Yep.
And if I continually downsell, I do get that second and third sell
Exactly.
because they're comfortable on the bike. If I sell them that bike,
And
they're gonna get scared.
Send you more referrals.
Yeah.
Where you put them on that bike they think they want right now, and
Yeah.
one and done, and then you don't get any of their friends or anything.
Yeah. I grew into, I mean, mind you, I'd rather do it the way I did it, even though it wasn't the bike for me.
right?
It was a small enough bike that I got comfortable enough riding it and realized, okay, these are the things I want. These are the things I don't want.
Hmm.
And was able to upgrade and then upgrade again. And
That's why I tell people like if you're just brand new to it, go do the MSF course.
Yeah.
Because at least gets you on something and you have a better idea of what you're going to want whenever you do purchase your first motorcycle. And 9 times out of 10, their first motorcycle they buy isn't the bike for them
No.
permanently.
no.
And you're going to jump to something else.
Yep.
And people say like, oh, well, get a bigger size, like start it with an 800 or something like that so that you don't get bored of it too quickly. I say like, no matter what you get, you're going to replace it.
Yeah.
And look at the depreciation that happens on a $4,000 bike. There's not a whole lot of room to
Yeah.
lose there.
Yep.
You're going to lose a lot more money by getting something more expensive
Exactly.
and then wanting to trade it quickly.
So I did it both ways.
You started
Did
twice?
the right way
I
and
started
wrong
twice.
way.
I did it the wrong way first, and then did it the right way because I grew up riding dirt bikes, and then got my first street bike. Bought it from his dad's old. Well, it was Southern, but your dad was still working.
Mm-hmm.
So bought it from your dad. Wrecked it a week later. Got a CBR 600. Quickly learned that street bikes and dirt bikes do not cross over.
That doesn't translate
They do
one to
not
one.
translate
Mm-mm.
well at all, especially on a Chattanooga interstate with a bunch of potholes and you don't know
Oh
how to
my
maneuver it.
goodness.
So I didn't ride at all for like 7 or 8 years, and then started back dirt bike, which got me onto a Grom, then to a 250 dual sport.
Dirt bike got you onto a Grom.
Yes,
Okay. Just
pit bike.
okay. Gotcha.
Got
Okay.
the
makes
Grom
sense.
as a pit bike,
Yeah.
and I needed to go to the gas station
Yeah.
from the motocross track one day, and
That makes sense.
rode that, and I was like, oh, I missed this.
I can do this. Yeah.
So I went from the Grom to a 250 dual sport to back to a CBR 600, then to the 900, and now I'm to the Multistrada and the Street Glide.
See, I kind of like missed that opportunity. I don't like. I started on a PW50 when I was 3 years old. Like I'd never had any kind of like first bike. I remember my first
I
street
didn't
bike, but it wasn't even something that I
My first
rode. Like
motorcycle ever was a CR 125.
my first
when I
street
was, like,
bike was a
12.
GZ 250, like an old like it was a little dinky thing.
My dad started me on a full-size bike.
But I never thought of it as my bike. I
Yeah,
never,
I mean, I don't think they ever thought about progression. I mean, we grew up in a different time, you know. Now,
yeah.
like Macy, when she was little, she wanted to learn to roller skate. So in the house with carpet, and
Yeah.
she had on a helmet, the knee pads, the elbow pads.
So onto that. So she's learning to ride right now, right?
She is.
Is she wearing a helmet while she's doing that?
She is now
How old is she?
19.
Okay.
The reason she didn't have the helmet
I
on
was
in the
thinking
field.
like 7 or 8.
Oh, thanks. I looked at no. The reason she didn't have the helmet on in the field, the grass that she was riding, is because Chris kind of wanted her to hear his instruction. But when we started getting where there was some asphalt, we have the helmet, the boots. She's got riding pants. She's, so.
You geared her up fast.
Oh yeah, she's.
My 17-year-old's wanting to learn. She's like, I want to learn to ride a motorcycle, and she's like, can you teach me on one of yours? And I'm like, you're 4'11".
Yeah.
Like
Which one? Well,
her and her mom are very height challenged.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a supermoto that you can't touch the ground on. I have a CBR 600. I'm not starting you on that.
Yeah.
And you definitely can't touch the ground on the multi.
No.
Like.
And
So
see,
it's
that's
like, I need to go buy another Grom.
yeah, that's another thing with Macy.
You need to get a KTM 250 Duke. Like that's like the 390, but lower.
Yeah.
Oh, they do have a 250 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually.
And it's like $4,000. Like that's Grom territory.
And see, that's Macy.
That is Grom price territory now.
She can touch, like, she's learning on my KLX 300, which has a high seat height. I think it's around 34, 35 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And she can touch on that. So she's also not limited with, necessarily the type of bike, but we definitely are looking more for like a 3 to 600 cc for her first bike. Something not too playful, maybe a little lunky,
That
390 Adventure.
But see, when I
That's
hear
gonna be my next
KTM, I just think race.
Yeah.
I think racing.
Yeah, but it's a 390 at the end of the day.
I know, but still.
That's what I want. I want something small and light to put around in the woods.
Yeah.
Well, and then you guys have been on BMW for a while, and I think that you guys, trust that brand.
Yeah.
And you were showing me a G310 GS that she's looking at. So I hope she gets it. I hope she likes it. Have the whole family ride together.
Yeah. I wish y'all had one. I'd have bought it today.
That's
why I brought the truck.
Well, let me.
You love when a customer says that. If you'd have had it, I'd have walked out of here with it.
Free bikes yesterday.
I don't know if Scott's on delivery right now, but I'll see if there's a dealer close to him. He can bring it. We have it by the end of the day.
Road trip.
Yeah, exactly.
They got a nice transport van.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It came to my house.
It came to my studio.
Delivered that 1250. Chris said that's the first time he's ever looked at a bike and it looked better off the showroom floor than it did on. Like when y'all backed that off, he was just like, "Oh yeah, I don't remember it looking like that." And
the crazy thing about this showroom?
Yes, I mean,
yeah,
it was awesome.
There are so many beautiful bikes in here, and that's to me like I see a bike out, like even if it's one I sell, I'm more drawn to it than otherwise. Like I can appreciate the R18 right there way better not in the showroom. I get tired of seeing it here.
And to take really good pictures.
Yeah. That's why we do that. But no, we haven't taken any pictures. Had you take any pictures of bikes that we don't really care for though? That's the thing. We like to show to show the candy.
Yeah.
Which ones are we going to be showing today?
We got the R12 and the R12 9T.
Yes.
Very two well stylized bikes.
Yeah.
Cool footage.
What's our time looking like? When do we start? Okay,
Right
well we're wrapping up then.
Wrapping up.
Anything we didn't touch on?
What's
We
the
did.
next ride? Show
Well,
all your stuff.
We do. The springtime makes it a little bit more difficult, but we do have a waterfall ride on the 19th, and it's kind of like a poker run for waterfalls. So we have about 20 to 23 waterfalls with coordinates, and you'll break off into groups of 5 to 10, and you'll kind of choose which waterfalls you'll go to, but it has to be a group picture in front of the waterfall with the sticker or whatever. And then we all kind of meet back
Mhm.
at Bright Star. So it's from 9 to 3. And the group that hits the most waterfalls wins nothing but fun.
When is this?
Is it the 19th,
Oh.
April? Mm-hmm.
That's pretty close. Yeah.
Not next week, next weekend. Yep.
So where does that start exactly?
At Bright Star Sporting Clays in Horton, Alabama.
It's in Alabama, so we got to make a trip to Alabama.
That would be, yep. So it's right outside of, if you know where Aniana is.
I don't
I
know
mean,
where any of this is.
Sneed. Right outside of Sneed. But
I've been to Alabama once.
so
I got lots of
Bet-
family, kinfolk, and
between, but kind of
All the
between
cousins.
Gadsden going towards like Huntsville. So it's on that
Well,
side.
I know that you have the Alabama Adventure Riders group.
Mhm.
If you're in or close to Alabama, join that group and join some of their rides.
Yeah.
Yep, follow me on
Um,
Facebook.
They'll let you in even if you're on a Triumph.
Even if
Um,
we welcome
Everybody.
we welcome all bikes.
I even saw a couple of Hondas at the last ride.
Yes, yes, there is no. I mean, we have them all.
Those are tolerated.
Look, we had a Honda. Was it the Rebel?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did.
She went all the way to
Dude.
the top. She rode that entire ride on
I felt
street
so bad for
tires.
her.
But guess what? She's got a BMW 750 now. Yeah.
I felt bad for her because I was trying to find something that she could.
Put them on a Honda. On her
I was trying to find.
ride.
I was trying to find something that she could fit on.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was so difficult to find
yeah.
something that she could reach the ground on.
Yep.
So hopefully that 750 must be a low.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Yep. But so yeah, we welcome all bikes. If you want to try it, we'll support you.
Well, and that Rebel coming on the ride proves that just about any bike can do it.
Look, when she came to the top, when I saw her come to the top, I was like, yeah, everybody was clapping. It was awesome. She's like, I'll try it.
I'll
He's
try.
going to go,
Any
I'll
bike's a
go.
dual sport if you're brave enough.
And I think her husband he was on the 300 and he quickly realized that was a little underpowered, especially the interstate
For
ride.
sure.
And I think he's on a Transalp now, I think. I can't remember. I
Nice.
think that's what he's on. But
Awesome.
I try to remember people by their bikes. And
Oh,
you have the, yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for listening, and thank you for coming on, being
Yeah.
patient with us.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you like what you hear, comment down below. Let us know what you think. And then we'll see
Subscribe, follow,
all those
leave a
things.
comment.
Instagram, Facebook, mostly those. I don't even want to
See you
mention
again in
it.
2 weeks.
All right. Thank y'all.